You've been praying for a breakthrough, but God's been waiting on you to wake up. Not in your body, in your mind. You're not stuck because of the devil. You're stuck because of disorder. You're anointed, but you're out of alignment. You've got vision, but no structure. You've got passion, but no principle. And here's the raw truth. God doesn't bless disorder. He multiplies alignment. You want heaven to back you? Then put your life in divine order. Stop asking for overflow when you're out here operating in chaos. Stop begging for favor while ignoring fundamentals. God's not the author of confusion. He's the master of clarity, strategy, and systems. And if your house is out of order, your business will be out of order. If your spirit is out of order, your decisions will be dysfunctional. If your finances are out of order, you'll keep sowing in fear and calling it faith. Look, God isn't obligated to bless a mess. He blesses what reflects his nature. And his nature is excellence. His kingdom is structured. His ways are strategic. So if you want supernatural increase, you better get serious about spiritual alignment. That means your money flows according to mission. Your time serves your purpose. Your energy matches your assignment. Because God doesn't increase what you won't organize. He doesn't multiply what you refuse to manage. You can't carry kingdom wealth with a scattered life. You need order. You need discipline. You need alignment, not just with habits, but with heaven. This ain't about perfection. It's about positioning. When you put God first, everything else finds its place. But if you keep operating in dysfunction and expecting divine reward, you're not walking in faith, you're walking in fantasy. Get in alignment and watch how fast God moves. You can't outwork disobedience. I don't care how many hours you grind, I don't care how many clients you stack, I don't care how many zeros you've got sitting in that account. If you're disobeying divine order, you're building on sand, not stone. And when the storm hits, not if, when it hits, everything you thought was solid will collapse. Why? Because effort without obedience is just rebellion in disguise. This culture's got you fooled. It told you that if you work hard enough, you'll win. If you hustle long enough, you'll succeed. If you stay up later, push harder, move faster, you'll somehow unlock the blessing. But let me break the spell today. God is not manipulated by movement. He responds to it. Obedience. Some of y'all are sprinting in the wrong direction, full speed ahead, wondering why you're exhausted. You're praying for open doors that God never designed for you to walk through. You're asking for acceleration in areas he told you to release. You're climbing a ladder leaning against the wrong wall. And then you wonder why peace is absent and joy is missing. It's because you traded surrender for striving, and that never pays the way you think it will. Let me make it plain. God doesn't bless effort, he blesses alignment. You can't buy favor. You can't negotiate anointing. You can't earn your way into the room God designed to be unlocked by obedience. You can study all the marketing strategies. You can join 10 masterminds. You can double your ad spend, but none of that matters if your heart is rebellious and your spirit is deaf. There's a difference between activity and authority. You can be busy and still broke. You can be active and still unfruitful. Fruitfulness only comes when you are planted in obedience, not chasing trends, not mimicking what worked for them, but listening to the voice of God and moving when he says move. That's the difference between a kingdom entrepreneur and a worldly one. Kingdom builders don't chase paper, they steward purpose. Now hear this, God doesn't just want your grind, he wants your governance. He's not looking for another performer, he's looking for a steward, somebody who knows that the greatest strategy is submission. Somebody who doesn't just work hard, but works in order. Somebody who says, I'd rather make less in obedience than make millions in rebellion. Because when God is your source, you understand that his provision is better than your promotion. You've got the work ethic, but your results are capped because your heart's not surrendered. And God in his mercy is blocking your breakthrough, not because he's punishing you, but because he refuses to let success become your idol. He loves you too much to bless your disobedience. You can't out-hustle dishonor. You can't out-market misalignment. You can't outperform a word from heaven that you chose to ignore. God isn't your backup plan. He's your blueprint. And if he's not first, the whole plan is flawed. You've been building your brand like it's yours, talking about my business, my money, my dream. But if it didn't come from God, you'll spend your life chasing wind and calling it progress. The blueprint isn't in your head, it's in his hands. And if you're not seeking him first, you're already second guessing your destiny. Let me say it real clear. God doesn't fund rebellion. He funds stewardship. He funds obedience. He funds kingdom line visions that glorify his name, not yours. If you're tired of being tired, check your blueprint. If you're tired of the constant pivot, the endless stress, the lack of clarity, check your source. You're making plans and asking God to co-sign them like he works for you. You're building castles that look impressive on the outside, but are spiritually bankrupt on the inside. You don't need another coach, you need conviction. You don't need another funnel, you need faith. You don't need more data, you need divine direction. The reason God's not moving isn't because he's distant, it's because you've sidelined him. It's made him a consultant instead of the CEO. And I don't care how smart you are, if God's not first, your foundation is fractured. Because success built on rebellion is just failure in disguise. You want to shift everything? Here's how. Fire yourself. Step down as the leader of your own life. Quit acting like you're the source. Hand over the blueprint. Lay down the ego and say, God, you speak, I'll build, you lead, I'll follow, you instruct, I'll execute. You do that. You'll see what real success looks like. You'll see how favor can flood places that effort never could. You'll watch how peace replaces pressure. You'll witness what happens when God breathes on your vision, not because you earned it, but because you finally surrendered it. Obedience is the accelerator. Alignment is the key. God first is the non-negotiable. So the question isn't how hard are you working? The question is how aligned are you walking? Because if God isn't your blueprint, your brilliance won't be enough. If God isn't the architect, your ambition will betray you. If God isn't first, your foundation is failure, no matter how shiny it looks. This is the moment. Get in order, put God first, not later, not next week, not when the business scales. Now, let me make it plain. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. Don't try to dress it up. Don't slap a justification on it. Don't spiritualize your hesitation. If God told you to move and you're still standing still, you're not being cautious, you're being rebellious. And rebellion is expensive. There is nothing more costly than missing a divine moment because you were waiting on a second confirmation for something. God already made clear, God doesn't stutter. If he said do it and you're still praying about it 2 months later, that's not discernment. That's disobedience hiding behind a prayer life that lacks courage. Let me talk to the entrepreneur right now, the one sitting on the strategy God gave them last year, the one who keeps rewriting the plan instead of executing the vision, the one who keeps asking for a sign when God gave them a seed and expected stewardship. Hear me, God doesn't multiply what you won't move. He doesn't bless what you won't build, and he doesn't increase what you keep ignoring. The kingdom is not for the passive. The kingdom is for the obedient. To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. 1 Samuel 15:22. You think you're sacrificing your time, sacrificing your money, sacrificing your comfort. But God's not impressed with offerings that are disconnected from obedience. You're trying to buy delay with extra effort, and that's not how the kingdom works. Delayed obedience forfeits favor. God's not waiting on you to be perfect. He's waiting on you to be obedient. And partial obedience is still full rebellion. Ask Saul. He lost his throne because he tried to adjust what God said instead of obeying what God commanded. Some of you are adjusting your assignment to fit your preferences and calling it wisdom. It's not wisdom. It's fear dressed in logic. Let's get this straight. You don't get to negotiate kingdom instructions. You execute them or you exit the blessing. You want supernatural results? Then walk in supernatural obedience. Obey when it's uncomfortable. Obey when it costs you. Obey when it makes no sense to your network, because your network didn't give you the calling. Let me say something bold. Your delay is the reason your breakthrough is delayed. You're not waiting on God. God's waiting on you to move your feet. He gave you the instruction. He gave you the vision. He gave you the seed, but you keep stalling. And every day you stall, the enemy steals, not because he's stronger, but because your silence gave him permission. Delayed obedience is disobedience, period. And let's go even deeper. because some of y'all think you can compartmentalize your obedience. You obey God in tithing, but not in forgiving. You obey God in prayer, but not in execution. You obey God in public, but not in private. But what you won't give God control over will control you. Let that hit. If you don't surrender your business will become your idol. If you don't surrender your time will be stolen by distractions. If you don't surrender your emotions will wreck your destiny. What you refuse to place under God's authority will rise up and become your authority. And the worst part, you'll call it normal. You'll normalize stress. You'll normalize dysfunction. You'll normalize being bound to a schedule that God never authored. And let me tell you something, what you don't give to God, the enemy will gladly manage for you. He'll take your business and turn it into a source of anxiety. He'll take your ambition and twist it into addiction. He'll take your relationships and use them to rob your peace. But when you give it to God, I mean fully hand it over, you don't lose control, you gain dominion. You don't surrender to get less. You surrender to receive the full measure of what he promised. You've been negotiating with God like you're equals. You're not partners, he's Lord. You don't bring him into your business to bless it. You build it on him so it doesn't break. Let me ask you, what are you holding back? Is it your money, your vision, your time, your past, your schedule? Because whatever it is, if God doesn't own it, you're a slave to it. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve both God and money. Matthew 6:24, that's not just about finances, that's about function. You're either governed by the Spirit or governed by your stuff. You're either led by God or driven by fear. And fear has one assignment, to keep you safe, small, and stuck. But God has a different assignment, to elevate you through obedience, expand you through faith, and empower you through submission. So let's stop sugarcoating this. You don't have a money problem, you've got a lordship problem. You don't have a clarity problem, you've got a surrender problem. Because when Jesus is Lord, not just Savior, not just a Sunday title, but Lord, your business changes, your thinking shifts, your results compound. Why? Because God is never obligated to bless what he doesn't own. And when he owns it, he multiplies it. So today's the day to flip the script. No more delayed obedience. No more partial surrender. No more fear-laced hesitation. God's looking for people he can trust with territory, with wealth, with impact. And he doesn't trust perfection, he trusts obedience. So take the thing you've been holding on to, the habit, the vision, the plan, the platform, and give it back. Give him your marketing, give him your meetings, give him your money, because when God is first, everything else falls into place. Don't just hear this, do it. Don't just post about obedience, practice it. Don't just talk about surrender, walk in it, because delayed obedience is disobedience, and what you don't give to God will control your destiny. But when you give it all, God releases it all, and that's when the overflow begins. God doesn't bless disorder, he multiplies alignment. You think God is going to bless your chaos? You think he's going to anoint your confusion just because you're passionate? Stop playing. God doesn't move through mess, he moves through order. Kingdom order, divine structure, spiritual alignment. You want overflow, but your priorities are out of place. Your schedule is a circus, and your values shift with your emotions. Don't ask for multiplication if your foundation is fractured. God blesses what's in order. You align it, he amplifies it. You submit it, he stretches it. You structure it, he supercharges it. But you keep living like discipline is optional and calling it grace? Nah. Grace doesn't replace order, it empowers it. If your house, your business, your habits are out of order, don't expect supernatural flow. Order is the container for overflow. Until you honor that law, you'll keep watching others rise while you're stuck recycling potential. If God ain't first, you're already out of order. Let's stop playing spiritual games. If God ain't first, you're last and don't even know it. You've got him somewhere on the list between your emails and your calendar, and you wonder why your vision feels flat. If God's not the center, the rest don't matter, period. You don't need more time, you need divine priority. You're praying for breakthroughs, but you're building a life where he's an accessory, not the architect. That's why it ain't working. Your strategy isn't off, your order is off. And God doesn't bless being second, third, or squeezed in when you feel spiritual. He blesses first fruits, first place, first say. You want kingdom results? put the king in his rightful place. In your money, in your mind, in your meetings, first in your business, not after the budget, first in your decisions, not after the disaster. You don't fix your life by grinding harder. You fix it by putting God where he belongs first. Success without submission is spiritual sabotage. You can climb the ladder, build the brand, scale the business, and still sabotage your soul if submission ain't at the core. What good is success if it costs you obedience? What good is the money if your heart is off mission? You think you're winning, but if God didn't authorize it, you're just drifting in a dressed up rebellion. Let's be real. Kingdom success isn't just about income, it's about order. It's about operating under authority before trying to walk in authority. Submission isn't weakness, it's weaponized trust. It says, God, I'll go where you send me, even if it costs me what I built without you. And that's where power starts. That's where peace lives. Because when you submit to the source, the blessing isn't seasonal, it's sustained. So check your heart. Are you chasing the throne or following the king? Because success without submission might impress people, but it offends heaven. Stop chasing the bag and start following the builder. You out here burning out for a bag God never told you to chase. Hustling for status, clout, and cash, but you forgot who built the system that blesses. God is not in the bag, he's in the blueprint. You want real wealth? Stop chasing the resource and follow the source. You're chasing quick wins while the enemy is stealing your calling right under your nose. The devil loves a distracted entrepreneur, someone who talks kingdom but moves like culture. The bag ain't your savior. The bag ain't your purpose. You chase the builder and the bag starts chasing you because God funds what he offers.